Welcome to the Oligarchy gameplay demos. These short videos will just give you a quick idea on how to play the game, and just so you know, we'll be using prototype cards because the official ones haven't come back from the manufacturer just yet. The power struggle phase. The power struggle phase is where you complete the bulk of your fighting and scheming. It is split into two, abilities and attacks. First comes the power struggle abilities phase. Most characters will have useful abilities they can use to help you defeat your opponents. These abilities will have a respect value next to them. Advertising Executive has a respect value of 1+ for both his abilities. This means the ability can only be used if your personal power base is equal to or greater than his respect value in the faction that he belongs to. In this case, Advertising Executive is a media character, identified by his faction allegiance symbol. Remember, we personally set our power base to 12 in media faction when we started the game. 12 is certainly greater than the 1 point required to use this ability, so if we choose to, we can use the Advertising Executive's first ability. The ability says that we may lose one IP status and put a counter onto Advertising Executive. Why would we take him up on his offer? Well, he has a second ability we could use in our next sphere, which says he can remove a counter from him and gain us 2 AP status. Essentially, by waiting one turn, he can produce extra affluence to help us pay for more stuff. Sounds like a fair trade. We lose our remaining point of influence from our status spinner to indicate we have paid for the ability, and place the counter on him to mark that we have done so. So now we know how to use an ability, let's look at attacks. As mentioned, each player starts the game with 12 points of power. A player is eliminated when they lose all power base. Characters can be used to attack your opposition if you choose not to use their abilities. Any characters that have used abilities cannot attack, so you must choose wisely. In this case, the Advertising Executive is a power base 2 character, seen in the green circle in the top right of the character card. If we choose not to use his ability, but attack instead, we simply choose an opponent and declare the Advertising Executive as their attacker. If they have no characters to defend themselves, they will lose power base equal to the value of the attacker's power base. In this case, Advertising Executive has a power of 2. So this is a successful attack for 2 damage. As you can see, losing power base is bad. Not just because it means you are closer to losing, but it can also mean your characters may no longer have respect values you can meet to activate their abilities. As you lose power, your characters will lose respect for you and won't do as you command. The good news is the defending player chooses which factions to lose power base from, so you can lose 2 power base in one faction or 1 from each of 2 factions if that's how you've apportioned your power base. Notice there is no need to turn a card or mark that it has attacked. Simply push it forward and declare you're attacking. Nice and simple. But what if your opponent had a character to defend themselves? Characters may engage in combat, but only 1 defender can be assigned per attacker, so pick your fights wisely. In this case, let's say the defending player defends the Advertising Executive with a media faction researcher. The researcher has only 1 power base, so loses the power struggle, as it had to defend 2 power base from the Advertising Executive. 2 power base exceeds its value of 1, so it is placed in your history pile. This is simply a face-up pile of cards that have left play. The Advertising Executive will suffer the loss of 1 power base from the researcher in return. In Oligarchy, characters take permanent damage, so we mark this loss with a -1 counter, which will be supplied in your game box. The more astute viewer will now realise that the Advertising Executive can now only attack for 1 power base in the following spheres. Power base is both an attack and defence value in 1, so again, this keeps it simple when keeping track of power struggles. Plenty of cards in Oligarchy can change the balance of attacks, so look for combos to help boost and heal your characters to give you an advantage in your power struggles.